about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before. Sure. So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no thing as karma, okay? Get over that.
Political debates today feel less like open discussions and more like high-stakes battlegrounds, where reason clashes with rigid ideologies. And this time, Bill Maher found himself right in the crossfire, going head-to-head with Whoopi Goldberg in a heated exchange that had everyone talking. But this wasn't just another Hollywood spat or a celebrity disagreement. It was a moment of reckoning. Maher, known for his blunt and unapologetic takes, has spent years calling out hypocrisy on both ends of the political spectrum. However, his latest clash with Whoopi pushed the boundaries further than ever before, escalating into a debate that wasn't just controversial, but eye-opening.
That part of our sorry racial history in this country is that the point of view from a black person is often going to be very different and sometimes shocking.
This wasn't just a heated debate, it was a stark clash between progressive ideals and the real-life struggles of everyday Americans. Whoopi, standing her ground as always, leaned on the familiar talking points that have long defined The View. In a controlled media space, those arguments might resonate, but this time, they met an unflinching challenger. Maya wasn't backing down. Armed with hard facts and a sharp rebuttal, she dismantled Whoopi's points one by one. The cracks in her reasoning became impossible to ignore, and for the first time, Whoopi seemed to falter, searching for a solid comeback that just wasn't there.
I watch your show all the time, so I know that you're a comic, but you basically go after Trump and Biden. You know, both of them, and a lot of people are not happy with you about that. I'm
not equally.
Well, not equally, because you know that Trump is doing more dangerous.
Of course. I mean, I don't think anybody was more out front on that danger than I was.
This wasn't just another on-air clash between TV personalities. It was a much deeper reflection of the widening gap between Hollywood's progressive ideals and the realities unfolding beyond the entertainment bubble. While Whoopi Goldberg stuck to the familiar elite narrative, Bill Maher cut through the noise, raising the tough questions mainstream media often sidesteps. The exchange sent shockwaves through audiences. Some applauded Maher for his blunt, no-nonsense approach, while others rushed to defend Whoopi, accusing Maher of fueling conservative rhetoric. But one undeniable truth emerged. When ideological talking points are put to the test, they don't always hold up under real scrutiny. To fully grasp the weight of this debate, it's important to understand the two figures at its core. Whoopi Goldberg, a staunch advocate for liberal policies, has consistently dismissed critiques of the left, often branding them as exaggerated right-wing spin. She's built a reputation for doubling down on progressive stances, rarely entertaining opposing views. Bill Maher, on the other hand, defies easy categorization. While he aligns with traditional liberal values, he refuses to follow a strict ideological playbook. His willingness to call out inconsistencies on both sides makes him a rare voice in today's polarized media landscape. This stark contrast in perspective set the stage for a showdown that was anything but ordinary.
Talking about how he was never going to give up power. Long ago, when everybody was laughing at me and said, you smoke too much pot, and I said, I smoke just the right amount of pot, because plainly, I was using the term slow-moving coup before he was elected the first time.
That's right.
I said, this guy is never going to concede power. It's impossible to imagine him going,
The debate took a sharp turn when Whoopi Goldberg downplayed concerns about crime, inflation, and the struggles of working-class Americans. Brushing them off as exaggerated narratives, she seemed to dismiss the very issues affecting millions. But Maya wasn't having it. She pushed back hard, insisting that these weren't just political buzzwords. They were the harsh realities people faced every day. Instead of directly addressing Maya's concerns, Whoopi danced around the topic, offering vague counterpoints that skirted the core issues. And when she did engage, her arguments leaned on outdated economic theories that felt disconnected from the lived experiences of everyday Americans. This moment highlighted a bigger problem. Despite often championing marginalized communities, certain political figures tend to overlook what those communities actually care about. And in this case, Whoopi's response only widened the disconnect.
Saying anything against Biden because I feel, not that I have so much power, and you have some more than I do, obviously, but
I don't know about that.
Are you afraid that you might, influence people who are on the fence?
I think you lose all credibility.
Poll after poll makes one thing clear: Black and Hispanic voters are far more focused on economic stability and crime than the ideological battles dominating social media. Yet Whoopi stubbornly refused to acknowledge this reality, weakening her argument as the debate unfolded. Then came the turning point. Maher, never one to back down from calling out hypocrisy, took a sharp pivot and went straight for the Democrats' glaring double standard. He brought up Hunter Biden's scandals, highlighting how the same politicians who constantly preach accountability suddenly fall silent when one of their own is under fire. The tension on set was undeniable. Whoopi's expression hardened as she quickly brushed off the controversy, insisting it was nothing more than a political smear campaign. But Maher wasn't about to let her off the hook that easily. He doubled down, reminding everyone of President Biden's own words: "No one is above the law."
My bond with my audience has always been I don't pull a punch.
Yeah.
My bond with my audience is you're not going to like everything I say,
Yeah.
but you know I'm saying what I really think is true.
Right.
That's. Look, Biden just presents as old. It's not really fair.
No.
Because he's almost the same age. Trump is almost the same age as him.
Yet that statement rang hollow, especially as reports surfaced that Biden was preparing to pardon his own son. The contradiction was glaring. Maher wasted no time in pointing out the hypocrisy. If the rules only apply when they're politically convenient, then they aren't rules at all. They're just empty rhetoric. Whoopi's defense began to crumble. She faltered, struggling to counter Maher's relentless logic. The energy in the room shifted, and for once, The View found itself on the defensive. With no solid rebuttal left, the conversation reached a boiling point. That's when Maher turned his focus to another major player in political influence: the media. He didn't hold back, directly calling out mainstream outlets for allegedly burying the Hunter Biden scandal in the lead up to the election. To him, this wasn't just about bias, it was about controlling the narrative at the expense of journalistic integrity. Clearly rattled, Whoopi dismissed his claims outright, waving them off as yet another right-wing conspiracy theory. But Maher came prepared. He reminded Whoopi and the audience that even some left-leaning journalists had admitted the Hunter Biden story was deliberately downplayed to protect political interests. The conversation was no longer just about one politician or one scandal. It had become a battle over truth, power, and media influence. And in that moment, the audience knew this debate was far from over.
Present that way. You know, you look at somebody right away, you can kind of just sum them up. I mean, we are not young, but we don't present as old.
Yeah.
Biden does. I saw him yesterday making that speech.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, he's cadaver-like.
But his brain is good. He's still great.
Well, here's what I said. Like when I came back after the strike in September, I said,
Black and Hispanic communities often hold deeply rooted values: patriotism, support for law enforcement, and a firm stance on border security, values that frequently contrast with the narratives pushed by white progressive activists who claim to represent them. Yet instead of addressing the genuine priorities of these communities, Democrats continue to align with elite ideologues, pushing policies that seem disconnected from what everyday people actually want. Throughout the debate, Whoopi Goldberg struggled to keep up. Confronted with Maher's fact-driven arguments, she repeatedly sidestepped the discussion, deflected key points, and leaned on broad emotional appeals rather than engaging with the hard facts. It's a dynamic often seen in political discourse, where ideology takes precedence over reality, and difficult truths are avoided rather than debated. One of the most revealing moments came when Maher directly questioned Whoopi on the real concerns of Black and Hispanic Americans. Rather than acknowledging that these communities prioritize economic security and public safety over performative progressive activism, Whoopi dodged the topic entirely, steering the conversation into unrelated territory. And that, Maher argued, is the fundamental problem with rigid ideological politics. When confronted with inconvenient facts, its loudest defenders don't engage. They evade, shift the narrative, or outright dismiss opposing viewpoints. Instead of evolving in response to reality, they dig in, double down, and refuse to acknowledge perspectives that challenge their worldview.
conservative once said to me, what you guys in the liberal side of it don't get about Donald Trump is we don't like him either.
Yeah.
It's just that in this country, it's binary. I mean, gender may not be binary, but politics is. You only get two choices. And the stuff that they are afraid of, They see Donald Trump as a bulwark again.
This heated exchange wasn't just a clash of opinions, it was a symptom of a much larger shift in American politics. More and more people, including former staunch progressives, are beginning to see the cracks in the modern woke movement. Once hailed as a champion of liberal values, Maher now finds himself as one of its most vocal critics, not because he changed, but because the movement itself veered away from its founding principles. This debate exposed a deepening rift within liberalism. On one side, Maher represents the old guard, those who champion free speech, open debate, and practical solutions. On the other, the modern woke movement has embraced ideological purity, prioritizing activism over pragmatic change. And as the pendulum swings further, a growing number of people are starting to question the extreme narratives that once seemed untouchable. One thing is becoming clearer than ever: the battle for the soul of liberalism is far from over. Maher's boldness in exposing these contradictions sets him apart as one of the rare mainstream figures willing to challenge progressive ideology from within. He's not a right-wing commentator looking to dismantle the left. He's a liberal who refuses to follow a predetermined script. This willingness to break from the pack has earned him admiration from conservatives and moderates, while frustrating progressives who expect unwavering ideological loyalty. His clash with Whoopi Goldberg wasn't just a heated debate, it was a symbolic showdown over the future of political discourse in America. As mainstream media becomes increasingly polarized, voices like Maher's stand out precisely because they refuse to conform to partisan narratives. While many in the industry prioritize shaping opinions over presenting facts, Maher's commitment to calling out inconsistencies on both sides makes him one of the last truly independent voices in modern political commentary.